I'm not going to tell you which ones are better than others. That's up to you and your spiritual beliefs, your lack of spiritual beliefs, wherever you're at. But please, just like all this stuff, I want you to try it. Try meditating between 5 to 10 minutes every day. Try it for a week. Try it for a month. See if it doesn't improve everything about your life. Welcome back to Struggle and Strive. My name is Estil. I'm going to be your host today. Today, we are covering step 11 out of the 12 steps. If you don't have a study guide and you would like to follow along and nerd out, please go over to struggleandstrive.co and download it for free. By the way, everything on here is for free. We're not selling you anything, just unpacking the 12 steps and a bunch of other topics that we'll cover in later series. So we're on step 11. If you've been with me the whole time, we've been through a lot of information. We've been through a lot of stuff. If you're actually working the steps while you're watching this podcast series, I imagine that you personally have gone through a lot. I got to tell you, the first time I went through this, it was a freaking blur the first time. And it was an uncomfortable, vulnerable blur. So if you're going through it, my hat's off to you. I commend you. Let's get rocking and rolling with step 11. Prayer meditation. It says we sought through prayer meditation to improve our conscious contact with God as we understood Him, praying only for knowledge of His will for us and the power to carry that out. So we talked about prayer back in step 2. I talked about building prayer as a muscle. And if you're doing that on a daily basis, which I recommend, praying 3 times a day, then that muscle should be getting some strength by now. Praying 3 times a day, you're getting used to what to say. Even if your God concept isn't all the way, developed yet, that's okay. You're in action, you're in prayer, you're getting used to it, you're starting to develop something. Here's where we're going to make a shift to not just pray, but also meditate, to also listen to what God has for us. Now, there's a few different ways that people meditate. We're not going to go into all things, and I don't necessarily do all things. I'm going to make a couple suggestions and tell you some of the things that I've tried and what I do today. So the first 2 years of recovery for me, I didn't meditate at all. 0 meditation. I got to step 11 and just skipped it and went right to 12 secretly. Like, you meditating? Oh yeah, plenty. I just wasn't doing it. I'd been to a couple meditation meetings, which was kind of weird. Sometimes they use a gong or they do like some vibrations and stuff. That's fine. I wasn't into it. My mind was too restless. I didn't force myself, like I had with so many other steps, to just sit and work on the practice. So I read a book by Eckhart Tolle called The Power of Now. Really helped shift my perspective on who I am versus the mind-made self, the ego that is in anxiety and is worried and forgets that I'm a child of God, forgets that my life has purpose and direction, that forgets that I am perfect and whole and complete, as imperfect as perfectly imperfect and whole and complete as a person who is living rightly can be. I wasn't there yet. I didn't understand that stuff. And so as I read Eckhart Tolle's Power of Now, it gave me a profound appreciation for how tricky the mind can be and how easily I could fool myself into distraction, into negativity, into or back into, we'll say, old patterns of limiting beliefs, lack of abundance, this mindset where things fall apart and they rot and things don't work out. So I just started practicing. I just started doing, I would do 5 minutes of quiet meditation. Then my mind would race so much that I got into searching for guided meditations on YouTube. This is a simple, super cheap hack. If you've never meditated and you're like, I don't know how to do this, my mind is racing, I don't know what I'm doing. You can go to YouTube and you just type in the word meditation. You'll find hundreds of them. I'm not going to tell you which ones are better than others. That's up to you and your spiritual beliefs, your lack of spiritual beliefs, wherever you're at. But please, just like all this stuff, I want you to try it. Try meditating between 5 to 10 minutes every day. Try it for a week. Try it for a month. See if it doesn't improve everything about your life. Over the years, I've done a lot of different stuff in terms of meditation. I did guided meditations for a couple of years while I was really trying to get into the practice of it. Then, in Eckhart Tolle's book, Power of Now, he makes a reference to a technique that I started utilizing. The technique is this: sit quietly in a room and listen and try to identify every sound that you hear, the compressor of the air conditioner or the heater, the traffic outside, etc. And then once you can sort of name all the things you hear, try to listen to the silence behind the sound. So I'm focusing my energy and my attention on an abstract thing. I'm listening to silence behind the sound, the silence from which all of these little tiny sounds come from and return to. At the time, I lived in an apartment 4 floors up on a main thoroughfare in central Phoenix. And when I would do this, would be like 9, 10 o'clock at night. So the traffic is starting to die down. So I would do this. I would be like, and I wasn't sure if I was supposed to sit like lotus or like light things on, like incense or something, so I didn't. I just sat quietly like on my bed. And I would close my eyes and I would listen. I'd have a couple different low humming sounds, and I would hear a car coming. And then I would hear the car disappear. And then I would hear another car coming and disappear. And by the time I had sat and really just brought my awareness to not the sound itself, but the silence behind the sounds, 10, 15, 20 minutes would have gone by. And I realized that I'm much calmer. I'm much more peaceful. I'm much more open to resting, to maybe reading some more. All of a sudden, the anxiety of being wound up all day. One of my favorite comedians, Bill Burr, likes to say, I idle at 45 miles an hour. And I do. I wake up in the morning, I drink a little caffeine while I pray, I meditate, and then I'm sort of this energy all day long. I come home, I play with my kids, and I'm at this energy until I go to bed at night. So for me, when I meditate, it's a great opportunity, particularly in the beginning of the day for me. You can meditate whenever you want. Don't be like, hey, I watched this stupid video with this guy, Estil, and he told me I had to meditate at this time. I didn't say that. Meditate whenever you want. Don't meditate. I don't care. Live your life. I like to meditate. And I've tried all kinds of weird things, including, listening to vibrations. They're like frequencies that you can get on YouTube. That was kind of weird. I did that for a while. The last, about 4 years ago, I got into classical music. Might sound cheesy. Maybe it doesn't to you. I don't know. I fell head over heels in love with classical music because of meditation. I was done listening to frequencies. I thought it was weird. And so I started listening to classical music, and I found that I could listen to classical music with my eyes closed, sitting quietly in silence with only the music in my headphones. And it would be very easy for me to pass 5 to 10 minutes without having a lot of intrusive thoughts, without, the Google Calendar just ticking in my head. And doing that really set the frame for my whole day. I may have mentioned in other videos that I came in super agnostic. I was not a spiritual person when I found recovery, and I was never going to go to church again. I'll share a little bit of my spiritual experience here with you today. I lived in this world when I found God, where I was living in God's grace. I had an overwhelming spiritual experience over the course of my first year, where I was cordially welcomed into this whole different way of living, where the obsession to drink and use drugs left me. My horrible morbid thoughts I had for other people and for myself vanished. The hatred and rage that I carried for so many years just went away, and I got to live in a really good life. For 18 years, I lived that way, still sort of committing psychologically to the agnostic box. Like, I'm not doing a religious thing. Like, I'm the agnostic. I'm who they wrote the book for. I'm the guy who uses God of your own understanding. That's me. Well, I got to tell you, my own personal experience doesn't have to be yours. The man who helped me find recovery is hardcore Hebrew. He practices. He is full-on Jewish as they get, not a Christian guy. I found Christianity about 2 years ago. I found a pastor, a very outspoken pastor that I greatly respect. He's a Bible teacher, unlike any I've ever heard before. And the way he got through to me. And I sat in one of his sermons, and it sounded like he was talking directly to me. And I had an overwhelming experience where I thought, you know what? Maybe I didn't give this a fair shake. I'm going to get my own Bible, and there's nobody breathing down my neck to read one. And I'm just going to read it and have my own experience with the text. And guess what? I've had an amazing, overwhelming experience with reading the old scriptures. So in the last couple of years, in my morning meditation, I meditate on the Word of God. A guy I respect, he says, if you want a word from God, go to the Word of God. Now, you may be coming from some other complete spiritual, different spiritual background, and that's 1000% fine. You may be coming from no spiritual background. You may be coming from, like I did, from a negative religious background and not wanting to do anything that sounds too spiritual. That's fine too. You can just start. Go on YouTube, find you some weird guided meditation where they walk you through going to a beach and that sort of thing. It's fantastic. It'll quiet your mind. It's a muscle that you can strengthen over time. And with time, you'll get a lot better at it. And I would venture to say that meditation has brought more peace and more clarity to my life over the last 18 years that I've been doing it than almost anything within the 12 steps. A lot of things have helped me clear up big conflicts. Some of the steps have helped me fix old damages and hurts from the past. This step particularly has helped me find peace and clarity, and stretched over years of time. I'm a much more focused and centered person, largely as a result of my communication with God, which I do in prayer and in meditation. So if you're new to meditation, there's no wrong way to do it. Just try. Just get into it. Try some of the suggestions I threw out there. If you have great suggestions, you can leave them in the comments. If you have more you'd like to learn and you'd like us to make another video, leave your questions in the comments. Thank you for everything. We'll see you in step 12.